Hey everybody, welcome back. HSC Podcast 82. The Big Box Steve on the mic, the Big Smooth, and Fresh Wes. Here we go with another week down, getting getting a little further along in the season. So if you're watching on YouTube, don't forget to subscribe and like. Leave any comments. Tell us what you think of our picks. If you're listening on Apple Podcast, Spotify, thanks for the listens. And we're gonna get into week 5. No, we're in what week are we in? Jeez. We're in week 6 now.
Six.
So we're gonna be talking week 6 NFL. Uh and then talk a little bit of college football first. Also, they just finished week 6 in that. And then we'll get into some fantasy football wrap up at the end. I thought I had saved a trivia for you guys, but maybe I didn't.
I got a trivia for you two.
All right, let's get it.
Okay. In the mode of last week, in a way, it's the teams with the least amount of rushing yards for a player in franchise history, the bottom 5.
Total yards by a player.
Yeah, so I'll give you an example of someone who's not like Thurman Thomas has 11,000 yards. He's Buffalo's leading rusher.
So
these about 5 teams are
their leading rusher, but the team they're for the team, but they're on the bottom 5.
Yeah.
Well, you're not going to have, some of the big ones, of course, because those guys are prolific.
I'll give you one hint. 3 of the 5 are in the same division.
I would guess, I don't know, because I think he did pretty well there. Hmm. Maybe the Dolphins.
Yes, the Dolphins would be the fifth least.
The Zonka?
Huh?
Is it
Zonka?
Zonka?
Yes.
Yeah.
Mary Zonka. 6,737 yards rushing.
Yeah.
So all the other 4 teams, their rusher has less than 6,700 yards.
Right. Counting expansion teams as of today as well.
Yeah.
So let's see. Does this Cleveland Browns count as a team? Not the old Cleveland? Are they the Ravens?
I didn't see them on there. I wouldn't count them.
Yeah, like which one is which?
Yeah, no, because they put Jim Brown as Cleveland.
Right. So then they count Cleveland as the old Cleveland. Yeah. Okay. Let's see.
It's gotta be.
You would think Carolina.
Nope. Let me get to where Carolina was.
Less than 6,700 yards if Miami's the highest.
Save that website.
I mean, maybe the Patriots?
That's Curtis Martin. No.
Oh, no. Yeah, Curtis Martin, he had a lot of yards.
No, it wasn't Curtis Martin.
That's the Jets.
Or Jets of Curtis Martin, right?
It wasn't Curtis Martin. It was something Cunningham, like old.
Oh,
right.
He missed just by like he was number 6. Think of a newer expansion team.
Yeah, like Jacksonville.
Not Jacksonville. Fred Taylor had
No, Fred Taylor had a lot. That's right.
Who is newer than Jacksonville?
Well, Houston.
Yeah, Houston.
Yeah, so Houston's on the Texans.
Right. Yeah. Okay. Texans. Expansion teams make the most sense, but they
What
did.
about the
Yeah.
Well,
Do you know who it is?
oh,
Well, no, because you said it's not Jacksonville. It's not.
No, I mean for the
the
Texans. Who it
Texans.
is for the Texans?
Oh, who would be their leading rusher? Arian Foster.
Yes. Now the three left are all from the same division.
Yeah, I was trying to figure that one out. Maybe no. I feel like the could be.
Well, we know it's not the East. Could be East.
No, it can't be because you got
Uh, Washington, Larry Brown,
obviously.
Riggins.
I mean, the
Dallas would be.
Giants got Tiki Barber. Like he had to rush for more than 6,000 yards.
Well, just
So it
because
can't be
just with the
these.
Cowboys and the Redskins
Yeah,
or the
right.
Commanders.
You eliminate that. God, I'd want to say the Saints, but it doesn't sound right.
Yes, the Saints are one of them.
Yeah, I mean, because you'd think that like they had good running backs, but they all just never did well or moved on, you know. So yeah, the Saints. I mean, who's that? Ironhead Hayward.
No. Oh, I think I know this because I watched the game against the Dolphins in '85. I can't remember his name though.
It's not.
Is it could be Reggie.
But,
Oh, Dalton Hilliard.
No.
No,
uh,
Deuce McAllister, right?
Yes.
Yeah, yeah. So you got the Saints and probably the Bucks.
Yes, they have the least
Yeah,
the worst running back, least amount of rushing yards.
right.
And this was a surprise.
Yeah, so you got the Bucks, you got the Saints, and I mean, obviously it's either the Falcons or the I mean, I guess Falcons maybe Jamal Anderson
It's not Jamal Anderson, but it is the Falcons.
or what's the other guy's name?
oh,
The guy had a few good years. Oh man,
You got
can't
to go
remember his name.
80s. You got to go 80s for the Falcons.
Oh really?
Yeah.
Gosh, I don't know. Um, it's not that guy from Nebraska, is it?
I don't know. I don't even know the '80s.
I'm going to check to see where he played. I think it was Georgia. No, wait. He graduated from Arizona State. He was the 9th overall pick in 1982.
Wow. Yeah, I don't know that one.
He won a
Who?
Super Bowl with another team.
All
Oh
right, give it.
no, I don't know.
No, give us the answer.
Gerald Riggs.
Gerald Riggs. Never would have got that one. No.
You still haven't got who Tampa's running back is.
See, Tampa's running back. Hmm. Gosh, have they ever had a good running back?
They had work done.
Oh, yeah, or Mike Allstott.
Yeah, but it wasn't them.
Really?
Yeah.
Before them or after them?
Before. Drafted in 1981.
Oh, geez. Yeah. I'm not going to get that one either.
Wes, any guesses?
No.
James Wilder.
James, wow, is it? I haven't even heard of these guys.
You never heard of Gerald Riggs or James Wilder?
Not
Not
I know
that I'm going to
Winter
pull off
Tyler
the
is
top.
about it.
Yeah, not that I'm going to pull off the top of my head. That's for sure.
Yeah.
That's a tough one, but the teams make sense. Like you could get the teams, like picking the players. That's tough.
Yeah. Once you got the teams, you got 3 out of 5.
Yeah,
You got all the teams, but
yeah, that's a good one. I like it. I like the random trivia questions. All right, well, let's get into week 6 college football. Start with some CFB. Couple of games out there. Did you guys catch the USC game at all?
I did.
God, that was nuts. So triple overtime, or no, double overtime. They didn't double overtime.
What was it? I was going to bed and I looked at my phone, and for some reason, sometimes Bleacher Report does all this weird stuff. Like you go to the screen and then it says 2-point conversion for whatever, but then I'm like, what? What's going? Like the wrong team or the wrong side, and so I'm like, what is going on? This game is still going.
Right. Yeah, they went to triple overtime where they had, and then USC got a 2-point conversion and Arizona missed. But you look at this game, like Arizona dominated the game early. USC was real lucky to even go to overtime. They came back, took a lead, but Arizona just made so many mistakes. And I don't know, it kind of looked at USC where they didn't look so good.
They
Definitely
have
not like
they're a Big 12 team. You
yeah.
got Lincoln Riley. He's coming from the Big 12. All he wants to do is put up 60 points, but they have no defense.
Yeah, they definitely didn't look like a national champion. Caleb Williams was amazing. I mean, even though he had a bad statistical game throwing the ball, like what he was doing on the ground with his feet and the extra effort he was putting out there to help win the game was, I mean, he definitely looks like the best quarterback in college football. Just look at the things he did that weren't just throwing the ball.
Right. Yeah, he only had 200 yards of passing.
Yeah. I mean, he was worse than that. Like, I mean, he was at one point he was having his worst game of his career.
Right.
First half, hadn't even thrown for 100 yards, and it was just he was struggling, but he was still doing it on the ground, which was really impressive to see him do some of that stuff. So I think he kind of sealed the deal as the guy at quarterback. But USC, I don't know that they're going to even make the playoff. To be honest with you, I wouldn't put them up there right now. So they didn't look great. So the other one, did you guys see
Georgia
the
Tech, Miami?
Miami? Oh my gosh. What are you doing? What could he possibly be thinking?
I mean, you are a legitimate D1 coach, and you make a decision like, I mean, why didn't someone tackle him on the sideline?
Right. Or tackle their own running back or something.
Yeah, it's just get a fan on the field and grab the ball until
I struggle with it because I tried to like put myself in his position, but I can't for the life of me think what his thought process must have been. Like maybe did he think they had a timeout or something? Like maybe he misread the timeouts. But it just doesn't seem like any reason to not take a knee there. Like I can't figure that out. Because you take the knee, the game's over.
Yeah.
No, I mean, it's like it was the 1970s all over again because they used to do that stuff. I mean, there was lots of there was games that they fumbled back in the day, but I mean, I don't understand how you don't. I mean, everyone's going to take a knee there. I mean,
yeah, it's just such an odd play, that I just can't wrap my head around.
what was the down and distance? What was the down and distance?
I mean, it was like third and what 10 or something like that. It wasn't.
Well,
It
and then
wasn't
to
like.
give up the touchdown.
Well, that's a even worse on your defense. To give up a 50-yard touchdown at the end of the game, like with
I
that
mean, not even
play.
a Hail Mary either.
Yeah, you didn't even have your DBs back either. Like their DBs were playing like normal coverage. Like, isn't this where you go back to the goal line and you wait for the Hail Mary and you knock it down?
You're just gonna let them score. Like, oh, we're gonna get the ball back.
It
Let's let
was
them score from the 50.
it was the worst ending to a game I think I've ever seen. As far as just where you're just like, what are you doing on both plays? The defensive play when they let him score the touchdown and the offensive play where they didn't take the knee. So
Right. Especially on a game where they were winning, right? Like you're like, it's the game's over.
yeah.
And they did.
Well, and you look at what that just did to Miami, right? That they go from 4-0 to going to 5-0. They're already ranked 17th, meaning that they're going to bump up, right?
Yeah.
And now you go to 4-1, and maybe you drop out of the top 25, or maybe you
They're
get to like
25. They're
right at
25.
25. Yeah,
Yeah.
and so I can't. I don't know. That couldn't wrap my mind around that.
Well, especially they got North Carolina this week.
Right. Yeah, they're one of your biggest games of the year.
If they would have, done what they were supposed to, they could be looking at a top 10 after this week if they beat
Right.
North Carolina.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. So that's a big mistake on all kinds of levels for Mario Cristobal, and I just can't understand that one. The other game, I thought that this might happen, but Louisville goes out and beats Notre Dame and looked pretty good doing it. Running game looked strong. Plummer looked good.
Yeah. Louisville's been quietly doing pretty darn well. I mean, they've always, I mean, they've been recruiting well, just kind of behind the scenes for a while. They get good players, they get good skill guys. And so they're competing at, a higher level. And it just shows you that Notre Dame is just, they don't have the skill guys, to get into a shootout with the team, which I think is ridiculous that they're favored over USC this week. I'm like, really?
Right.
You're gonna get in a shootout with USC because your defense is good, but you haven't seen an offense like USC yet. You better score some
No.
points. Seems like they have
Yeah.
a real problem.
Well,
But
I think the
USC
odds makers
defense,
say
yes,
they're going to
it's
score
terrible.
points because USC's defense is horrible.
It's terrible. We'll see. Yeah.
Yeah.
If Notre Dame
USC's
puts up
defense is
40,
pretty bad.
USC has like the worst defense in history.
Yeah. The USC's defense is pretty bad. Although their defense came up with some plays to help them get back in that Arizona game, but Arizona made a lot of mistakes.
Yeah.
The problem with Notre Dame that I haven't seen out of them yet is just their inability to score at all. Right. And so maybe playing, but USC's defense, they still have the athletes. They're just not very good for some reason.
It is strange on defense. It's like you think, okay, we're the playmakers.
Right.
I mean, this is the University of Southern California. Let me just pick all the players I want.
Oh.
Some of the best players in the country. It's just bizarre to me.
Right.
Well, like I said earlier, Lincoln Riley doesn't care about defense.
But they do have athletes on defense. That's what doesn't make sense, right? They have good players. They just don't play well as a team on defense. Like they have great athletes because they're USC, right? USC's not going to bring in scholarship guys that aren't athletes.
I don't know.
The other surprise and disappointment was Washington State losing to UCLA. I hated to see them because I thought they had a good chance to make some noise, and for them to lose that game, it's just not the one you want to see them lose.
Well, that's the fear about the Pac-12 is they're all going to beat up on each other and none of them are going to make the playoffs.
Right.
And traditionally, a lot of tradition comes back into this because if Washington State doesn't like to play down in California, and UCLA doesn't like to play up in Washington, and usually the home teams hold serve, and UCLA is good. Again, they got good players. It's just they don't like playing on the road.
Yeah.
They really don't like playing on the road. It's really hard to go down there and beat them consistently in LA.
Well, and they're sitting at 4-1. It's not like they're having a terrible year.
We'll see how they do when they go up to Oregon State this week. That's gonna be a big game.
Yeah, let's so talking week 7 games, you look at this and there's definitely some games to watch, right? I mean, obviously Oregon, Washington. I think this is kind of a season decider for both of them. I think this is their test. Yeah, they play other tough teams, but I think whichever team comes out of this is going to come out with a lot of confidence from this game.
Yeah, I mean, it's also there. Yeah, whoever. I mean, you're kind of getting halfway through the season here. You don't necessarily doesn't kill you to lose here and win out, but it certainly does not help you unless USC starts rolling here. But the end of the season is gonna just USC got Washington at home. The Washington has to go to USC at the end of the year. Then USC has to go to Oregon.
Right.
The next week.
Wait, Oregon's got Oregon State, Utah, Washington, USC. Like Oregon's got to play them all.
And the spread on it is Washington 3, and to me that's a little light. I think everybody's kind of looking at Washington in a sense, and what Oregon's been just beating down their last couple teams. I think against Arizona, I think there's some question marks, and I think they should win because they're playing at home. That's about it. And it's just awful tough to go up there and win. And Oregon does not like going up there and playing them.
Yeah, I think being at home is a huge advantage for Washington in this game.
And the thing about the Arizona game was weird because it seemed like there are some times, and Oregon's going to totally try this. If they get Penix off his spot, he has a spot. When he's on that spot, he's like the best quarterback in the country. Right? When he's off the spot, he's not as good. If Oregon can get him off his spot, I think Oregon will win the game. If they can't early, he's going to come out and carve Oregon secondary. And I think that gives Washington the advantage. Oregon has to play catch up.
What was interesting is Arizona, they kind of exposed Washington and USC in that dollar defense. And they said, hey, we're going to make you run the ball to beat us. And you saw both teams struggle with that when they went back into that dollar.
Yeah.
And I think if I'm Oregon, like I'm watching tape, right? You're watching. You better be watching this film, and maybe not go to that dollar all the time because Arizona just wouldn't come out of it. It didn't matter. They just like, you know what, we're committed. We're just staying in it, and it hurt them in a lot of situations. But I think Oregon should be able to learn a lot from that because I think Arizona exposed both those teams, Washington and USC, with that defense.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's not like Arizona's, got the greatest defensive players in the world. They schemed really well for both those games. So we'll see this game. I mean, if you got to pick, let's just say, who you picking? You got to take one, Oregon or Washington.
I'm going to take Oregon. I think they're more battle tested. I want to see what Washington can do really against a real team.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm going to take Oregon too, just because of that fact. I just think Oregon is going to find a way defensively to frustrate them enough where they can score more points.
Yeah, I mean, I got to look at the defensive side of the ball as well and think that Oregon right now is playing better defense. And if they can continue to play good defense, through that game, they can definitely win that game, even though it's on the road. And it's really hard to say Oregon's going to go up into Washington and win. So I think it'll be a tough game, but yeah, I'd roll with Oregon too right now if I was betting on it. Oregon State, UCLA, you talked about that earlier. That's going to be, because now you got Oregon State at 15 and UCLA jump up to 18. So now that's a significant game. North Carolina, Miami is significant still because Miami's still 25th at 4-1. North Carolina, they win that game. If they win that Miami game handily, they're getting a lot more looks.
Yeah, they'll be around 10. They're 12 now. They just they've been kind of under the radar.
Right.
But yeah.
And then USC Notre Dame, I mean, who knows the way that game goes, right? It's at Notre Dame. USC didn't look good last week. Didn't look great against Colorado either, even though they won fairly easily. They still didn't look that good.
Like I said, you also, I think you also have to look at the quarterbacks. What's the matchup there? We're talking about Caleb Williams, best quarterback, defending Heisman Trophy winner, versus
Hartman.
Sam Hartman. I'll take Caleb.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll see. USC is gonna have to play better than they did against Arizona, though. That's for sure.
Stranger things happen in those games too. Lots of strange stuff happens.
Your offense isn't going to be clicking every game. You got to have a defense at some point.
Yep. I think that's the advantage, that a Georgia and a Michigan have right now as, top teams up there, where, they're more balanced than some of these other teams.
Yeah.
So that's a huge advantage.
They got to go through you. They can go through you.
Right.
And that scares everybody because these teams, a lot of these teams can't do that.
So it should be a good week. Not, like I said, not a ton of great games, but there's some really good games happening. Good week to watch some of these games. Pac-12 has a lot of stuff happening this weekend. So see a little bit of stuff playing out in the Pac-12. Let's jump into NFL. Let's talk about week 5 recap. Derek said it earlier, we don't pick our teams and our teams win. I'm happy to see the Bears get on the board. I had a feeling I could have picked them, but go something new, right? Don't pick them and hopefully they win. So
no,
Bears are on the board.
But here's what I don't remember. This is why I was a little confused. Did I pick the Bears or did I pick Washington? That's how conflicted I was.
We all picked Washington.
Yeah, that's why.
Yeah, we all picked Washington. After that Bears collapse against Denver, like it wasn't looking good.
Oh, that's what. Yeah, that's why.
But the reality is Fields had a good game against Denver. He just, a couple mistakes late, a couple bad coaching decisions, and they just threw that game away. But then they come back and Fields looks really good in a high scoring game.
You're like, oh, maybe we're not getting Caleb Williams. We're keeping Fields.
Yeah, well, we still could because we had Carolina's pick. And right. Carolina looks bad. I don't know if Carolina wins a game this year, to be honest with you. It's a tough road for them.
They'll win one of the South games probably.
Yeah, I mean that's probably their best chance, right?
Yeah.
They play the Giants at all. Let's see.
Yeah. um, Jacksonville, Buffalo. I said it on the podcast. Dude, Jacksonville just doesn't lose in London, and we should have known better. Should have known better than to pick Buffalo. But Jacksonville, didn't really shut them down. Allen threw for a lot of yards, and they just weren't converting. They just weren't scoring points. And so Buffalo's kind of a letdown there.
Yeah.
Baltimore was a huge letdown.
Oh,
Yeah.
I mean, I was watching other games, but then I kept peeking at the score. And at the end of the game, that fade at the end of the game, in the shotgun, you're in the shotgun and you throw that pass. I don't understand.
I hate that play. I hate it, hate it. I hate the fade. And it's such a gimme. It's like, oh, okay. It's either going to be, it's such a crapshoot. I don't want to go in with like a 30% chance of making a play.
Right.
And it was such a horrible throw.
You're giving the defender all you're doing is giving the defender an easier target to defend. It's a lot easier to defend a fade than like if you're going to do an out, an in and out, or a Texas or a slant or anything. Those are tougher to defend on the goal line.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Now I get it if you're like, 6'4", 6'5", and you got like a 5'10" corner on you and you throw it high.
Right.
Yeah.
But
now
they're doing them with like 6-foot receivers. And I'm like, what are you doing?
Yeah. And you want to have like a Mike Evans or someone like that, when you're running this play.
Yeah.
But Baltimore, I mean, that's just the end of the game. They looked bad all game. Their receivers were dropping balls everywhere. They were misrunning their routes. Lamar wasn't hitting his spots very well.
No.
And their running game just was not that great. It was pretty non-existent. I mean, Gus Edwards leads them at like 48 yards or something like that. I mean,
someone brought up about, I forgot who it was. They brought up, two types of ways that you can beat a team offensively. Is you beat them either with creativity or execution. And it seems like Baltimore didn't have any. They have no creativity and they do not execute. And that's a really bad formula, especially for when you pay a quarterback that much money and you're expecting him. He's a playmaker, right?
Right.
Maybe the guys aren't open. Maybe the guys are dropping the passes and they can't run the ball. He's supposed to run the ball in those situations. And so he's got figured out,
He really needs to take more control.
Because Lamar did have 6 rushes for 45 yards.
Yeah.
Yeah. And,
but you're not going to Pittsburgh throwing the ball 38 times.
No. And he's throwing the ball too much, but he is running. They are running some option, RPO, and they're also running, some the option to give or keep, a lot of times. And Lamar has to be a little more aggressive in some of those plays especially about running the ball. I get it. You don't want to get hurt, but you're your team's best running back.
I think when you start getting into the late third quarters and fourth quarters, and you got to do it, you got to do it. I understand early in the game it's unnecessary. Yeah. Look at Richardson. Look what happened to Richardson.
Right.
That was brutal. He did not look well coming off the field like that, and he's gonna be lucky to come back in 4 weeks. That's just
I mean, talk about the Indianapolis game for a second because first of all, I mean Gardner Minshew's playing the games he's come in and played, like he looks sharp. He looks like he can handle that team just fine.
Mm-hmm.
But what happens now with Zach Moss? So this guy is playing really well, and now, um,
Jonathan Taylor.
yeah, Taylor signs the big contract extension.
Yeah.
They're basically committing to him again. I mean, what do? You run a dual running back system now. You keep Moss in there and slowly bring in Taylor. You split time with him. Like, how do you handle that situation?
I'm pretty sure you split time until Taylor is going to take it all over, and then
Yeah.
sorry, Zach Moss, we won't ever see you again.
That's that's so bad.
Like, I mean, it probably take a few weeks, but you can never have enough running backs at this point.
Right.
At the end of the year, you worry about the whole Zach Moss thing. Right now, you're just, I mean, that's a pretty good combo there at running back, and Minshew can play to a certain extent. They're not bad. I mean, I didn't think they would do this well this year. They're not bad. They could
No,
they could compete. They could compete in the South.
they're 3-2. I
Yeah.
mean, they're right there. As probably, I don't know. Looking at that division, they might be the best in that division.
The Jaguars still.
Yeah, I mean, outside of the London game, I haven't been impressed with the Jags outside of the London game. So maybe they're turning a corner and coming together again.
They're like the Bengals. They're
Yeah.
pulling the Bengals. The Bengals are just, you know what? Where's number one? Like, let's just get him in space. And I'm like, okay, this is your formula. Throw it to that guy because
Right.
he just torched Arizona. I know it's
good.
Arizona.
Yeah.
I don't care. I mean, he had 3 touchdowns, 15 receptions for 195 yards.
Yeah.
And that's just a monster game. That's what they needed.
Is. They did need that, because Jamar was, he was having unhealthy conversations up until the lead up to that game.
He's like, what is going on here?
Yeah.
What is this, the Twilight Zone?
Yeah.
How is this even possible that our offense is this bad with me on the team?
I mean, since obviously Cincinnati needed it, Jamar needed it, and hopefully moving forward, that's a spark for them.
And Burrow looked better in the pocket. He looked like he was moving
Mm-hmm.
better, moving around better. He didn't look like he was hampered by the calves and stuff. So he looked better.
So let's talk San Francisco, Dallas for a minute. I mean, first of all, Wes, you called it last podcast when you said it's going to be a whole week of Dallas fans talking about how it's their game, they're going to win, like San Francisco hasn't played a real defense yet. And all you saw all week was
Dak's angry. Well, yeah. I'm angry. It's like, really? Okay.
Dak only has 1 interception. The rest of the NFC East has a bunch.
And Purdy's not a good quarterback, and Dak's way better. And then they just get annihilated. I mean, it was ugly. It was, and Purdy just murdered. I mean, 4 touchdowns. The guy looked great.
They just carved them. That was funny, but like when it was there, it was 21-7, and the announcers got to chime in. Like, you know what? They're not playing bad. They run this Texas Coast offense. And I'm like, what are you talking about? Are you talking about Texas toast or toast? I like Texas toast. Don't get me wrong. But Texas what is this? It's like, oh, yeah, you mean the offense? So Dak Prescott doesn't throw interceptions. He just throws like 3-yard passes. You mean that offense? That didn't quite work, did it?
Well, I don't see how. First of all, like San Francisco, there's so many weapons like that. They're just tough to stop. I don't care what defense you are. But then now you're going to take a mediocre at best offense against their defense. Like how did Dallas fans expect to win this game? With all the chatter and all the talking, and it's
Oh,
just
you
like
have no idea. I was talking to just an obnoxious Cowboys fan before the game, and he's showing me pictures of him hanging out with Jerry Jones and his son. Like he's been to some games. Like he has access, and he's just so excited. I'm like, dude, that's awesome, but you guys are getting spanked.
yeah, it was not good. So
And what happened after the game, Wes?
yeah, he probably left at halftime.
Oh, I don't even know. I went to sleep. I was tired. I woke up and I was like, yeah, I missed a touchdown. What did happen?
The so about the last one before we get into our picks here. Monday night, Green Bay, Vegas. I mean, just your guys' team. Like, what did you expect? And Derek, you picked them to lose.
Well, because Josh McDaniels almost lost it for him.
Yeah.
Here we go. And I'll say it again. Scream it to the rooftops. He's an offensive guru who hasn't scored 21 points in a game this season.
Still hasn't.
What?
This is 2023. You can't score 21 points in a game.
Right.
Yeah. That's pretty.
Jimmy G is still horrible. The only reason they won is because Jordan Love just kept throwing interceptions.
Yeah. And there's a couple that down there Jimmy G threw, and they just, it should have been an interception. And you're just like, whoa, like,
all he targets is Jacoby Myers or Devontae Adams. That's it.
Oh yeah.
Right.
It's though I know he's not good, and I just want to punch myself in the head like when I see him throw sometimes. But why can't they fix that aspect of, hey, let's throw this wrinkle in there. Let's sort of other people besides two. So defenses aren't flying to these guys every time they're running down the field.
I don't know what's going on, because if you watch, if one of those two isn't open, he gets sacked.
Yeah, and that's another thing.
He holds the ball so long.
Dude, you sat underneath one of the best quarterbacks in the history. He is the best quarterback in the history of football, but he was the best at evading the rush and throwing the football at the same time. You didn't learn anything from him?
Obviously not.
No. Because you saw him run a little bit. I was like, oh, they got him. Just done. He's done.
See, we used to complain about Carr because he would check down too fast.
Yeah.
But, at least he could throw a ball 30 yards.
Yeah.
Jimmy G can't even throw a ball 20 yards.
Yeah.
It's going to be a tough road with him.
Well, it sucks is their schedule's so easy, so they're going to win more games, which means they're not going to get.
Yeah, they played the Patriots. I mean, talk about a team that is falling apart. Like, they've been outscored 72-3 in the last 2 weeks. Dude, not even 3, 2 weeks.
Like, the Patriots are on a downhill, unstoppable slide that is just
Well, and then they go and play the Bears. Okay, we don't know what the Bears are.
Yeah.
We'll see what happens this week. Then they play the Lions, which will probably get crushed. Then they play the Giants.
You never know.
And
they
then
can
they
actually have
a
winning record after the Giants.
Yeah. And that's crazy because they shouldn't.
Yeah, no. I mean, you look at I was, kind of glancing at some of their schedule. It gets a little tougher. They have a couple tough games in there. But then, the Chargers games doesn't look as hard as it used to. The Giants game doesn't look hard as it did preseason. Jets obviously
Yeah.
looks like a very winnable game now.
And you know what? Their defense, I am impressed the way they're playing. You know what? They're getting turnover. I know it's Jordan Love. I mean, he just manufactures turnovers. That's not, but still, I don't even care if anything is better than them going through basically seasons without even seeing an interception. I like that. I like they're flying around the ball. That's great. You know what they really need is a freaking offense. And if McDaniel, if he would actually coach, like actually do his job, I think Jimmy G maybe can get them some wins. Kind of like I say about Zach Wilson, like, oh, am I really gonna say this? But that's why you have coaches.
Yeah, but here's the problem to this point in the season for them. Like, I mean, Josh Jacobs only has like 230 yards rushing, right?
Geez. And that's enough. No, that's they need to fix that because there's no holes. He's running into walls.
Yeah.
He doesn't look great either, but you know what? He's good enough. He should not.
There's no threat of a passing game.
Yeah. Well, yeah,
I mean,
because they're not blocking real well either on passing or running.
Well, for all the hate Carr gets, and he deserves a lot of it, but at least with him, the threat was he could, you know what? I'm going to throw it 60 yards for a touch. You know what I mean? And he threw to like 9 receiver. You know what? He would throw to everybody. With Jimmy G, it's like, oh, okay, let's double Devonta Adams and Jacoby Myers and key the run, and we're going to win.
Can Jimmy G throw it 50 yards?
I don't think. He can't. Have you seen?
Is there anything on YouTube we can look at here?
It looks horrible when he tries to throw a pass.
It's like there's so much effort, and you're like, why do you have that much effort? What have you been doing? Like, you've been just going around Vegas partying? Have you been working out? Like, what is going on here?
Yeah, and the Raiders' schedule, I mean, probably they could go 4-1 in the next 5 games, right? When you really look at their schedule. And so they come into the Miami game at 6-4. Like,
my worst nightmare is they'll go like,
because then they're going to lose more games as they play KC a couple times.
I just don't want them to be middle of the road because then you lose out on every quarterback.
That looks exactly like what they're going to do. Like, they look
because Josh McDaniels wants to keep his job.
Yeah.
I mean, 8-9 looks real possible.
Yeah, it does.
And that gets you nowhere. You're in no man's land.
Yeah. Yeah, so let's jump into HSC Podcast Week 6 picks. Let's get it here. Let me pull up the schedule. See what we're looking like. All right. Week 6. Man, season's moving by. Thursday night, Denver at KC. I mean, it's at Kansas City #1 and it's Denver #2. So I don't think any team does well going into KC on prime time, but Denver especially not. Denver was so lucky to win the Bears game, and then to the way they lost to the Jets last week, I don't even think Denver shows up for this game. I really don't. So I got to take Kansas City by, I mean, at least 10. Probably more. But Kansas City's not playing great either. So they're winning, but they're not killing people. So.
Well, the spread is 10.5. And I will give due where it belongs. But Russell Wilson is not as bad as last year.
Yeah.
He's gotten a little better.
The rest of his team's playing worse now, though. Is the problem.
It's weird. It's totally weird. It's like
because last year they were playing good. Their defense was playing well, and Russell Wilson was throwing away games. And now their defense is throwing away games, and their offense is throwing away games, and Russell's playing a lot better. You're right.
Right. So it's weird, but yeah, I'm still I got the Chiefs. They own the AFC West. It sucks. But it's not going to change, especially not with the Broncos. So yeah, I got them winning by 14.
Yeah. I I love the promo for it because I didn't think about this until like 20 minutes ago. Like if Marshawn Lynch is promoting the game and he like turns on the screen and there's Russell Wilson, right? And he's like, "Oh yeah, dude!" Like he's excited. I mean, can you think about it? Yeah, he probably never wants to see Russell Wilson again. It's just
He's like,
hilarious to me.
you cost me a Super Bowl, man.
Yeah, it's like, but it's so. Next time you watch it, you'll see. Like, come on, dude.
Right.
Did you
It's,
see when they asked him about Russell Wilson and Pete Carroll? And he's like, "Man, I don't talk to them. They're not my friends. I don't got them on my phone."
I love
brutal.
Marshawn Lynch, dude. Marshawn Lynch is great.
So
Uh,
yeah, it's Chiefs. Yeah, all four quarters. They win every quarter. And yeah, I think the Broncos might be down by 10 and lose by 13. So
yeah, they'll probably cover. I would imagine they'll cover. Um, Kansas City hasn't looked great, but they're winning games. They're doing enough to win every game, except the Bears game where they just murdered them. But yeah.
Kelsey's a little banged up too, but so is Taylor Swift.
Oh man, Mr. Pfizer. Mr. Pfizer.
Did you
I
hear
love
that?
it. Oh, it's great, man.
Oh, it's just
And then Aaron Rodgers was on Pat McAfee talking about it too. And Pat McAfee's just dying laughing. It was great. There's a whole segment about it. It's pretty funny. But yeah, I can't see Kansas City not easily handling Denver here. Baltimore at Tennessee. Derek, what do you got?
Baltimore's favored by 4.5, and I just don't see how that is since they're not playing up to their standards. I got Tennessee winning at home. Tennessee is just Tennessee, and that's the thing is they aren't flashy, but they'll make plays and they don't screw up. And then DeAndre Hopkins had a huge game for you last week, Steve. But
Yeah.
so yeah, I got the Titans in the upset.
Well, they're traveling this game, aren't they?
Oh, it's London.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
So there's
Nope.
no real home team, but
Yeah.
Wes, what do you got?
uh it, it's such I don't know. I'm gonna take the Ravens. I just think that they'll find a way to win. I think Lamar, you know, will make more plays. And again, the Titans, their just deficiency is quarterback. I think that will be an issue in this game. So I'm taking the Ravens.
This was probably the hardest game of the week, I think,
Yeah.
because it's just you don't know which team is going to show up for which team.
Right.
I mean, Tennessee could win this game if they play mediocre, because Baltimore could come out and play like
And they
they
look
have
so
been.
bad.
Right. And so the problem with this game is that, and then you throw in now it's in London. And so now you don't have really a home team, and it's like who goes out and plays better for the fans out there, what team plays better. I'm going to take Tennessee as well because I think Derrick Henry actually may show up. So I'm going to have to roll with Tennessee on this one, but it could go either way. It's such a hard choice. So we'll get our first swing game of the week. So Wes, you can pick one up here if Baltimore wins. Washington at Atlanta. Wes, what do you got?
Atlanta's playing at home. I'm taking Atlanta. Uh, Ritter looked pretty decent last week. I mean, and I think Bijan will have a big game. I think it'll be a close game, but I'm taking them by 4.
Yeah, it's a. I mean, you really want to see how Washington bounces back. It's hard to say go into Atlanta and win this game because Atlanta's playing decent, and Washington may just be still in shock. So I'm gonna take Atlanta off their close win and say they're still at home. They're going to be able to handle Washington in a close game. I think it's comes down to probably another field goal.
Battle of quarterbacks that should have been replaced, but both teams were too lazy to look for replacements.
Right.
Yeah, I'm gonna take Atlanta here just because the Commanders looked awful against the Bears. Awful.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, Falcons are favored by 2.5. I got them winning by a field goal.
Yeah, I think we're all in agreement there. Minnesota at Chicago. This is me. Against my better judgment, I'm going to pick the Bears. Um, it's at home. Even though they didn't win both games, they've played 2 good games in a row as far as their offense looking a little bit better. So I don't know if I'm reading this right, but it looks like Justin Jefferson's done for the season.
I don't know
Possibly.
if it's the season. I know it's at least 4 games.
Yeah, so he's on
It's
IR.
4 games, but yeah,
They're talking about he may not want to come
shutting him
back and
down.
play.
Yeah, if we're to get Caleb Williams, yeah.
Right. So without Justin Jefferson, I don't see Minnesota as a very good team. So I think the Bears have a chance to win it here, and they're at home, so I might as well roll with them this week. I think taking that much offense out of your team that wasn't playing very well in the first place is going to hurt them.
Sadly, I agree with Steve. You take Justin Jefferson away from the Vikings, and it's not pretty. And then DJ Moore and Justin Fields started to hit a rhythm together. So, yeah,
Right.
I got the Bears to win in an upset because the Vikings are favored by 2.5 on the road.
Yeah, which is funny because the Vikings are literally playing just as bad as the Bears this season,
Right.
even with Justin Jefferson.
Let me check. Maybe the spread changed by now. Nope, still
Let's see.
2.5.
Wes, what do you got?
I got the Bears too. I think DJ Moore's he's had a couple really good games. I think they found something that they can just continue to ride. I think Fields scrambles more this game. I think it's gonna be close because Minnesota. I mean, Osborne is capable. Addison is good. Hawkins, they do have enough weapons. The problem is the real weapon they should have is quarterback, and he is just hit and miss. He
Yeah.
throws some great throws sometimes, and he throws some really bad throws. I think he'll throw more bad throws than good throws. I think the Bears win, but I think they win close, like 2 points.
I mean, yeah, the problem with Cousins is statistically he's good.
Yeah.
Like if you look at his stats, he's right there with the top quarterbacks in the league statistically. I mean, he's second in yards, only outdone by Tua, he's throwing like 14 touchdowns and only 3 interceptions. Um, so it's not like statistically he's been horrible, but I don't know, he's just not a winner. He's just not that guy. that's gonna take you to
Well,
Super Bowl.
someone explained that, quarterback, they have in a game, there's 5 throws. And these are throws you have to make and to win. And it seems like he can't make those throws.
Yeah. Yeah, he's not very clutch at all, and he's not making the game-winning throws for sure. Let's see. Derek, Seattle at Cincinnati. What do you got here? That's a tough one.
Where is it? Bengals are favored by 3, and I just can't get off the Bengals drug. We'll see if what was fool's gold, last week, but I think they might have righted the ship, hopefully. It's at home too. It's in Cincinnati. Seattle doesn't play as well on the road. So I'm taking the Bengals to cover.
What do you think, Wes? You on the Bengals train, or you saying Seattle here?
I think the Bengals pull it out. I think it's be close. I mean, I think they barely cover. I'm not so convinced on the over under 45. That it might go under on that one. I don't think they get there. I think it's going to just be a messy game, and I think Bengals pull it out. Late field goal.
Yeah, I think I agree with you guys. Cincinnati at home, I think they have a better chance. I think Seattle's probably a better team, or playing better than they are right now as a team. But we'll see if last week kind of woke Cincinnati up a little bit, and because that's kind of what they need. And I think I got to roll with Cincinnati here as well. I got them by 6. Let's see. San Francisco at Cleveland. To you, Wes.
Well, I'm taking San Francisco. The line on it is 5.5. I'll times that by 2. I think
Really?
I think
5.5 is all they're giving San Francisco at Cleveland.
It's 37
Crazy.
over. Am I even looking at that? It says San Francisco 5.5.
I mean, I got San Francisco by at least 2 touchdowns.
Yeah. No.
Well, the odds makers are probably doing it because of the bye. The Browns had a bye last week.
But no. Okay. The Browns do play some defense. I don't think the 49ers are going to be as proficient. I think they do win by 10. I think they just get it done because the Browns, their offense is anemic at best. So, but I think 49ers get done with defense, like they usually do.
Oh, I mean, Deshaun Watson looks about as bad as you can look. They don't have Nick Chubb.
Yeah.
I mean, I can't. I don't know. Yeah, we'll see. I mean, I guess you're safe just taking the points, or giving up the points because, like I said, I think they're going to beat them by quite a bit. So I got 49ers by 2 touchdowns.
Yeah, I got the Niners also. I mean, 5.5. That's when I first wrote that down. I was like, what? And then I started thinking, it's like, man, think about this. Wouldn't you rather be a Texans fan right now than a Browns fan?
Yeah. I mean, future-wise for sure too. Even this season, but looking at what the Texans have coming down the road,
Yeah.
and what does Cleveland have coming down the road? Not a whole bunch. I mean, at what point do you just go run with DRT or DTR?
I was
What's
thinking
his name?
about that. When you did
Dorian Thompson Robinson. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
it just depends. I mean, you kind of have to ride Watson for. I mean, it's kind of hard to give up on a dude that you pay like $250 million.
Right. Yeah.
That's the problem. If it wasn't for that, I'd say what that's not a big deal. But I think at some point, I think you want to, because I don't really think they're going to go anywhere with an offense without Nick Chubb. I think they're going to start taking losses, and then they got to figure out what they're going to do at quarterback for the future. So DTR should be playing at some point, I think.
Well, he did play against the Ravens, and he threw 3 interceptions.
Well, yeah, I mean, but he's going to have to play.
He's got to get that
a
real
consecutive
experience.
games
Yeah.
to even entertain the thought of him. It's the same thing with Aiden O'Connell to me. Let's see if he's going to be a backup, because he might have to start some games while the rookie is gets ready to start, and see if he can at least do that. So,
well, we don't even know if Sean's playing.
He's questionable.
Right. So you may see him anyway, right?
He is questionable.
Yeah, he's just a questionable guy all around. But this kind of like give the owners more firepower, more ammo to say, look, this is why we don't guarantee contracts.
It's coming down the pipe. There's a lot of quarterbacks that have been paid, like the dude in Dallas, that are not producing what they're being paid to do.
Well, you got Dak, you got Daniel Jones, who just got a huge contract, right?
Or
and
Jackson.
Now you got
Who?
Lamar Jackson's
I mean,
in a huge fight, and now you come out and this is how you're going to play. I mean, even Joe Burrow, right?
Yeah,
highest paid ever, and he's not playing great.
No, he's not.
So, yeah, you hate to see this, because I like to see players get paid, but you're kind of helping out the owners here.
Oh yeah, totally.
Let's see. Derek. Wait, no. This is me. Carolina at Miami. I mean, Carolina looks horrible. Miami looks good. At Miami, I think the wacky, crazy professor is trying to score 100 in a game. So I think they win by at least 3 touchdowns.
Dude.
Yeah, this one's well, the sad thing is HN is out at least 4 games.
Right.
After just averaging 12 yards a rush this season. But Frank Reich is getting on doing interviews that the owner is like micromanaging everything too much, but he loves it.
Yeah.
So we're seeing how that goes. I don't think Frank Reich makes it past this year, if he makes it this year.
Yeah. I mean, if they go 0-10, he's probably gone.
Yeah. Especially since they don't have their first round pick.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I'm taking the Dolphins by a blowout.
Yeah, kind of hard not to in that situation. Wes, what do you got?
Oh, I got the Dolphins big. Spread is what, 11 something? Or is it more than that? I can't.
It's 13.5.
Yeah, they cover. Yeah, and Bryce Young, he's just a tackling dummy out there. He's been sacked 12 times. I mean, in 5 games, he's been sacked 12 times.
Daniel Jones
got
not
even that. He's only been played like 3 games.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Daniel Jones got sacked 12 times in 1 game.
Well,
I think Daniel Jones feels.
Oh jeez. They have no running game. They have nothing. Carol, it's bad. Yeah, Dolphins big.
Yeah, it is bad.
I love it. They're like they're in the market to get a good wide receiver. Really? No, really? You think maybe since you traded DJ Moore?
Yeah, that's so funny to me. I love when teams are like, they do that. It's like you just traded a really good wide receiver, and now you want another wide receiver.
Yeah.
And you gave up a lot for him.
And the Bears trading Roquan because they didn't want to pay him, but then they pay
Right.
two other linebackers not as good as.
And then you get we don't even get into that. Here's an interesting game, Derek. What do you got? Indianapolis at Jacksonville.
I'm going to take the Colts. I mean, no, I'm taking the Jags here. I think the thing is with Gardner Minshew is every time he's come in relief. So all week long you've been practicing for a dual threat running quarterback that has freakish natures and not a drop back passing quarterback. The Jags have been practicing all week for Gardner Minshew, so I think it's going to be a little different. And the Jags got their swag back playing in London last 2 weeks, so I think they're going to have momentum and they're going to win probably by 7.
What do you think, Wes? What do you got for that game?
I get the Jags too. I just think they just have more offense. And I think Trevor Lawrence will have a bigger game. I mean, he only has 5 touchdowns so far this year,
Right.
but I think this is probably the game he has like 3 touchdowns. Better game. They win by 6.
Yeah, this is a tough one because you've got Minshew playing, Indianapolis playing pretty well. Jacksonville's coming back from a long road trip, but it's at home. So yeah, I had a hard time with this one. I think I ultimately landed on Jacksonville. Excuse me, and I'm going to stick with that. Jeez. Okay. There's something in my throat. So we all got Jacksonville on that one. Let's see, Wes, what do you got on New Orleans at Houston?
Yeah, this is tough. This was tough for me to pick on this one because Saints played well last week. Looks like they're getting some sort of offensive continuity. Stroud's playing really good for rookie. And the Texans defense is what impresses me. And that's why I'm going to take the Texans. I think Will Anderson is going to make throws when you just make ill-advised throws. I think he turns the ball over some. I like Texans defense. I think Stroud plays good enough. I'm taking the Texans by 2.
Yeah, this is a tough game. Problem I have with this game is New Orleans seemed to come back to life a little bit last week, where they were really spotty starting off the season, and Houston, even though they look good against the Steelers, didn't really play that great against Atlanta. So I'm going with New Orleans on this one. I just think that overall, top to bottom, New Orleans is a better team. And I got to think that this is a big game for them, and they need to win it. So I'm going to take New Orleans by a touchdown.
I'm going to agree with you on this one, Steve. They had Cam Jordan was with Kay Adams this morning, and he was talking about the differences is with having a leader like Carr. And I think it's what it is now the team is starting to come together. Kamara's back. Kamara's getting into that defense is still, they're only allowing 15 points a game.
Right. And they're scoring on defense.
Right. So, yeah, and they're 4th and points allowed with 15, and they're fourth in total yards allowed with 274. So their defense, the Texans are giving up almost 340 yards. And yeah. There. So I'm taking the Saints in this one.
Yeah. Well, Wes could pick up another game here.
Oh. I think the Texans, they're on their way, but it's still, they're going to have ups and downs this year.
Right. Um, New England at the Raiders. I mean, I hate to pick the Raiders 2 weeks in a row, but they're playing New England. So it's not even like it's at New England, because I think that's the only thing that helps New England is playing at home. So I mean, I have to pick the Raiders here because New England just looks so dysfunctional. I don't think the Raiders. I mean, actually, I guess they do kind of win handily. I think I got them by 10.
Are they going to score more than 20 points this game,
Yeah,
Steve?
no, it's going to be 17-7.
And I hate to say it because get my hopes up because Josh McDaniels will do something stupid. But the Raiders defense has been playing really well the last few weeks. And Mac Jones has been benched the last few weeks. So I'm going to have to take I don't want to because I know it's playing with fool's gold. But I'm going to take the Raiders to cover, score. They're only going to win by 3 because they can never blow any team out.
Raiders by 3. Wes, you gonna roll with the Raiders as well?
Whereas buddy Mac Jones.
Yeah, it's Mac Jones, and Mac Jones has regressed to where I thought he was in my head when I imagined the season as looking at Bailey Zappi, how he is not even playing at this point. But they're gonna roll Mac Jones, and I think he's gonna play very average. I think the Raiders are going to play better on offense this game because the Patriots defense is horrific. They only have 1 interception on the year. Like what I mean, the lead they have nobody with more than 1 interception. That's Christian Gonzalez. He's hurt.
Right.
So yeah, their defense is not good. I get
It's gonna be tough.
The Raiders are going to win by 8.
Did you hear Dan Orlovsky's take on Mac Jones? He's talking to Rex Ryan. You guys hear this? Have you seen this at all?
About how Belichick destroyed him by having a defensive
No,
coordinator.
about how Mac Jones is as good as Brock Purdy.
Oh yeah, I did hear that. Well, he said that. Did he? Yeah, he compared them in some weird way. Like if you put Mac Jones on the Niners,
Right?
In a sense, it's like that's pretty weak.
To be fair, Mac Jones, his rookie year with Josh McDaniels, having a real offensive coordinator, he looked really good, right? I mean, he made the Pro Bowl, didn't he?
Yeah, I mean, he didn't look really good. He looked like an NFL quarterback, an average one. I don't think he was great, but he also, had some help. Like, they were doing the right things for him. But still, to discount what Purdy's done just because San Francisco has a solid team, and then to put him and Mac Jones together is crazy.
Yeah, and just some of the interceptions, I still don't understand some of the decision making.
But isn't that a lot coaching? I mean,
well, it is. But when you're on one side of the field and you throw it across your body and you get picked off for 60 yards, that's just not even coaching.
Yeah.
That's something you don't do.
okay.
Yeah, some of it's coaching. But
Here's Exhibit A.
Yeah.
Jimmy Garoppolo on the Raiders, Jimmy Garoppolo on the 49ers. Totally different players. Jimmy Garoppolo on the Raiders is doing exactly what you just said, going one way and throwing it up in the air and causing stuff. Jimmy Garoppolo on the Niners takes him to the Super Bowl.
Yeah, well, there was still a decision making, which I think is to Wes's point. Well, decision making, there is coaching involved in that, but they're making bad decisions.
It could be a snowball thing too. I mean,
right.
He is a young quarterback. If he's in a different situation, he could be a Pro Bowl quarterback here and there, but it's snowballing on him.
Name his receivers.
Trying to do he has no receivers. Who is he throwing to? Kendrick Bourne is their leading receiver. I mean,
that's the thing. If you have, I'm not discounting because Purdy does look really good, but you get Mac Jones, Kittle, Deebo Samuel, Brendan Ayuk. Are his numbers going to be better?
How about we do it on Madden? Just try it on Madden.
Switch him.
Let's just trade him straight across. Can we do it?
Do a little simulation.
Yeah.
Yeah. And, and there's bottom line, though, is Purdy still hasn't lost a regular season game. His touchdown to interception ratio is ridiculous.
Yeah.
And, and so at that point, and I mean, even the other guy, I can't remember that other guy's name, but he annoys me even more. The guy with like the longer hair that he pulls back, slick back kind of hair. What's that guy's name?
Are you talking Nick Wright?
Nick Wright, yeah.
Oh,
I just cannot. Talk about him. I hate him, but he's the same thing. He's like, Purdy's not a good quarterback. He's completely a product of the system, and I just don't understand the whole discounting. It's like saying Montana was a product of the system. Like, come on, guys.
Well, it is though. The thing is, you have to be a good quarterback. You need to be put in the right system. Look at people like David Carr, Joey Harrington, stuff like that, who they went to the worst possible places and got spit out, and they're busts. No, it's because your organization was horrible. And the 49ers, they didn't. I mean, granted, Trey Lance still looked bad with all those. That's how bad Trey Lance is, though.
Well, see, it's the same thing now. Now you can throw other quarterbacks in there, and they don't look so good. So it happens.
But I mean, I won't say that the Niners would be as good with Mac Jones, but if Mac Jones was on the Niners, we wouldn't be having a conversation of saying he's garbage. That's all I'm saying.
You might, though.
Yeah, well, no, you do have a point there. Because when you see Purdy go through he's just lasered in where he wants to go with football. And a lot of that is coaching too. He does exactly what he's supposed to do.
Yeah, it's there's I don't like those guys, either of those guys, Orlovsky or Nick Wright. And I think they just want to, I don't know. I think they want to discount what Purdy's done. And I think he, just what he's done so far as a quarterback being the last pick in the draft, coming in, taking the job from Jimmy G, from Trey Lance.
Oh,
yeah, injuries
again.
No, injuries got him there, but they could have put him back. But why would you?
Well, I mean, they didn't take it from Jimmy G, because remember, the Niners were just going to let Jimmy G go and give it to Trey Lance, and then they had to bring in Jimmy G to. So I mean, Brock Purdy took it from Trey Lance, which they could have. I mean, Sam Darnold took it from Trey Lance.
They could have kept Jimmy G if they wanted. They just didn't want him.
Yeah, because he was a backup plan, and then they needed him.
Yeah, I mean, he took him to a Super Bowl, like you said, or right there, So he did his job.
I'm telling you, Purdy's still better than Jimmy G in that system. I'm not discounting that at all. I'm just saying it, the thing like Orlovsky was talking about also is look at the Patriots receivers getting no separation or anything. And that's a product of schemes. It's like I always see it with like the Chiefs. I'm always like the Raiders. It's like, why is it so hard to get a guy open in the Raiders systems, right? Whereas the Chiefs, you like see Travis Kelce open every single. I'm like, how does he get so wide open? It's because Andy Reid schemes it that way. And that's what the Niners do. They scheme it the way for players to get open.
Yeah, I mean, so then now you say, well, it's because he has better receivers, but if any receiver can run in that scheme, what do the receivers matter? Because if they're scheming,
I'm saying there's
open,
better coaches, better receivers, better everything. That's what I'm saying. Better defense. I mean, better offensive line, better running game. There's nothing that Mac Jones has that is better than Brock Purdy.
No,
Brock Purdy has everything
on a team wise, not on a team level, right? But he also maybe he's losing confidence too, right? That would be that's a killer for quarterbacks as well.
Well, I think you can be right about both of them in those saying is you can say Mac Jones would play well in the 49ers system, and you could still say Brock Purdy's a good quarterback. I think they're both accurate.
Yeah. Yeah, I just don't think that it's you can really make comparisons like that and just say you could just switch them out and it'd be the same. Because, one, you don't know. And two, there's everybody's different in different systems. There's been good quarterbacks that are put in good systems that didn't do well.
Well, what would have happened if Tom Brady or Joe Montana had been put on Detroit back in or, a franchise that wasn't any good? Are they going to really be the greatest two quarterbacks of all time?
Right. You never know. I mean, it's like, Barry Sanders, right? Nothing stopped him from being the best running back of all time.
Right.
So greatness is great. It's always going to be that way when it comes to sports, I think. But it's interesting. We'll see how Purdy progresses and where this San Francisco team ends up because they look pretty good. They look like the team to beat right now. Let's see. Kind of got off track there, but let's see. We got Arizona at the Rams. I think that's you, Derek.
I'm going to take the Rams here. Connor's out for at least 4 games. The Rams actually look pretty good. They got 1-2 punch of Cup and Nakua. So Rams are favored by 7. I got them winning by 10.
What do you think, Wes?
I got the Rams too. I think they cover. I see. They win by 2 touchdowns.
Yeah, it's hard to not pick the Rams here. I think they're playing much better than Arizona. Neither of them are playing great, but Arizona's a little beat up. Rams are getting healthier, and it's at the Rams, so we got to take the Rams here as well. Philly at the Jets. What do you got there, Wes?
I got Philly. Jets are playing better. I just think Philly's kind of hitting another level. I think working out some of the kinks of their offense. I think it'd be close just because the Jets defense is gonna ball. I think on the flip side, I think Zach is just gonna get wrecked by the Eagles front four. They're gonna come after him and they're gonna confuse him. I think he's gonna turn the ball over a few times, and that's gonna be the difference. I got the Eagles by 9.
Yeah, I think that's tough for the Jets. and Zach Wilson and that offense to go and to play Philly at this point. Um, they're looking better. Jets are looking better. Zach Wilson's playing a little better. They had a good running game. You know, their running game's coming around a little bit, but Philly's defense, there's that front seven is phenomenal. And of course, their offense is solid, even though the Jets defense is good. I think Philly wins by 10.
Yeah, Elijah Vera Tucker is out for the season for the Jets again. Um, the defensive tackles for the Eagles, Jalen Carter
Yeah.
leads all defensive tackles in pressures. So it's not going to be good with a backup guard going up against him or Jordan Davis or Fletcher Cox. So yeah, I got the Eagles by 10.
Let's see, Tampa and Detroit. So Detroit at Tampa. This is actually kind of hard. My gut was to go Detroit, just right away. But then you kind of break Tampa down, and it's at home, and they're 3-1, and they're playing decent. Um, but I feel like they're still without Mike Evans, though. I don't know if he's back yet or not. Well, either way, I think the Bucks are playing pretty well. A big win in last game they played against the Saints. So I still got to roll with Detroit, though. Detroit's coming up to more of a playoff level, more of a competitor where, they could be a danger in the playoffs at this point. So I'm going to go with Detroit by a touchdown.
Yeah, I mean, what's crazy was last week, because we picked before we find out a bunch of injuries. And I was like, oh man, Detroit's going to be without St. Brown and they're going to be without some other guys. And they had some questionable guys. Oh, they were going to be without Gibbs. And then they put up 42 points.
Right.
I get it. It was the Panthers, but they put up 42 points without St. Brown or Gibbs. The Bucks have been a nice story. They've flabbergasted Steve by winning 3 games, but I think the Lions, I think they're a complete offense for sure, and their defense is coming around. And they're going to play bully ball, and they're going to run it down the Bucks' throat. So I got the Lions winning by 10.
What do you got, Wes?
Yeah, I got the Lions too. I mean, putting up all those points without St. Brown and Gibbs. I think Montgomery has been a beast so far. I think that's been a great addition. They can beat you different ways. I think they win by 12.
Yeah, so we're all on Detroit on that one. The Giants at Buffalo. What do you got here, Derek?
Well, I don't know. It was 2 weeks ago when I talked about Daniel Jones was like 1-10 in primetime games, and then he lost and got crushed. It's going to happen again. The Bills are mad. They lost in London. They're coming back home. So the spread is 14.
Jeez.
I think it's going to be like 21.
Giants getting no respect. What do you think, Wes?
Yeah, it's Bills are playing at home, and I think the Giants will keep it close, like in the second quarter, and then the Bills turn it on. Yeah, I think they beat them by 20.
Yeah, it's hard to pick the Giants here or anywhere. But given that Buffalo's coming back from a loss, they're upset, they're going home, and the Giants just don't have it. So they got to cover. I got them by 17, so I think it's a good chance that They cover. Final game, Monday Night Football. Good old Cowboys and the Chargers. What you're leading off, Wes? What do you got?
No, I'm going with the Chargers. Think I think I even said this when we started talking about the beginning of the season, where at that point where the Cowboys kind of just go off like a cliff. It's like they don't know there's a cliff there, and then they're gonna catch themselves at some point and they'll start winning games again. But I think they take some losses here. I think they go into LA after losing the way they did to San Francisco is just not good for them. I don't think it's going to be a blowout, but I do think the Chargers should win by 7.
This is a tough pick here because the Chargers, yeah, they're at home, but I haven't been super impressed with the Chargers this season. I feel like if they get Eckler back, they have much more of a chance to win, which it looks like he's probably coming back. And this is what I hate picking this early
Well, he
in the
said he's
week.
99% sure he's going to be back.
Yeah, but will he be 100% healthy? Yeah, it's always a question when somebody's coming off injury, and then of course they're without Mike Williams. Man, I don't know. I was back and forth on this one. I'm gonna go with Dallas. I'm taking Dallas on this one. I think it's a bounce back game for them. And it's just, I don't know. I don't trust the Chargers 100%. Like, I need to see more from them. And if they come out and they win this game handily, I'll trust them a little bit more. But at this point, I'm gonna go with Dallas.
I'm going with the Chargers. They were coming off a bye week. Plus, it's Monday night, so they're going to get healthier. They have tons of time to scheme for the Cowboys. They probably watched the 49ers game. They know Eckler, I'm pretty sure he's going to be back and he's ready to go. So, yeah, I got the Chargers by 3. Unless, Brandon Staley does something stupid.
Which there's a good chance of that.
Yeah, I know.
Brandon Staley doing something stupid or Dak Prescott doing something? One of
Yeah.
those things,
Yeah. And there's a lot of stupid out there in that game, but we'll see. I mean, I think it comes down to how well Dallas's defense plays and how well, both defenses really. Like, it's going to be about the defenses there. So
this is where Herbert shows, why they paid him, right?
yeah,
It's a good defense.
It's gonna have to at some point. All right, well, that's the week's picks there. Let's there's a few swing games in there, so we didn't think Wes has got a chance to make up some games or take the lead. Let's talk fantasy football real quick. HSC Podcast, fantasy football. I think we all got wins this week. So that puts the standings back. I think Wes has now taken the lead in that division.
Yep.
Beating Team John. I still got a 1-game lead on the West. So 4-1. Wes is 4-1. Somehow Big Mike stays at 4-1. Man,
Thanks for love.
my sister's gonna be mad that we talk about her again on the podcast, but she's got 760 points scored against her now.
I know. I feel bad because when I watched, I was like, oh man, she's making some good moves because she did.
Yeah, no,
mean,
she scored points, but when you have a 760 points scored against you, to put that in perspective, I'm the leading scorer of the league, and I've only scored 604.
Right. Well, because I had everyone except Ayuk for my position players scored over 20 points, pretty much 20 points each. So
right. Yeah. But Derek's still got some work to do. 2 games back.
I'll make up. I am the second leading scorer behind you, and I'm 2-3.
Right. Yeah, that's what I was trying to tell her. Is like it comes down to, sometimes you get lucky who you're playing that week.
Like Wes playing someone who had a bunch of buys and didn't
Right.
have changes.
Didn't change their team. A lot of points being scored out there. You look at some of these point totals, and it's pretty high in a lot of these games.
Right.
You're getting a lot of points out of receivers. Like Chase had 50 and DJ Moore had 50. I mean, Tyreek Hill's given me, 30 pretty regularly, 30 or more. So definitely a lot of points being scored. Not a lot of moves out there as far as people that you're going to find on free agency, though.
No.
And
I
I'm
mean, the
sure
one
most leagues are like that.
like freezing. I think it's like KJ Osborne.
Right. Well, and then with Justin Jefferson going out, that tends to be a little better looking pick, right?
Yeah.
Trying to figure out, who's going to be the workhorse in Baltimore, because they, who's going to get the touchdowns that week. It's such a tough one to pick some of their running backs up.
Roshan Johnson should be a pickup because I think Herbert's out for a few weeks.
Yeah. Yeah, but Johnson he was questionable too. He had a concussion protocol. So
Would it be Travis Homer?
yeah, right. I don't know what they're gonna do. I mean, I'm sure Roshan will play, and he's probably going to be a decent pickup given that they're playing Minnesota. But we'll see what happens there. So it's a good week in the HSC podcast. Then the Tigers at 3-2.
I don't know if
Yeah,
Jill's
who's-
live.
Yeah.
I'll check in on. Everyone's like, "Why you need to call her?" I go, "I'll call her."
Well, she had Jamar Chase playing, so she didn't have substitution. So Walker and her kicker were on bye, and she still scored 148 points. Oh, I'm sure Josh was not happy about that. A player with 2 people on bye, and you lose by 60.
Kind of fun.
That's kind of funny.
Well, he
Yeah.
had Gibson who didn't play, so
Right. Yeah, he could have changed him last minute, but he probably wasn't.
well, he didn't. Yes, well,
No, he was questionable, so they didn't know if he was
well, he
going to
didn't
play or
have
not.
anyone on his bench that could replace him anyway. So
Yeah. All right. Well, we'll keep it updated on that. Appreciate everybody listening. Don't forget to subscribe, leave some comments. Let us know. Yeah, looks like overall record. I picked up a game this week, so squeezing a little bit closer. Now we're at two games apart, getting a little closer. But our overall records are looking pretty good. So we were 9-5 and 10-4. So each week getting a little better. Records looking good. I think this week's going to be a telling week. Because I think there's some games that were a little tough to call, and we'll see if we come out with a good record on this one. I could see us going 50-50 as well, though. I can see this being a 500 week. I don't know,
well,
man.
we picked the Bears and the Raiders, so that might be
Right.
losses.
That's what I'm saying. You got the Bears and the Raiders, and Who knows how the Texans are going to play and the Colts and
The Falcons.
yeah. So some games out there. All right. Well, everybody, thanks for listening. We'll catch you guys next time.